Monster Hunter comes out in 11 hours and 30 minutes from now, from recording this video. Okay, 34. Since I'm not a reviewer yet, I only have reviews to go off of. I already bought it just because I've been hungry for a Monster Hunter game for a hot minute, and it's been a while, so now's a good time to jump in with a new big main series game coming out. So off to my screen. So right now it's sitting at 89 on OpenCritic and 90 on Metacritic. I don't really know what the difference is, and I don't really care. I pulled up some reviews just to look at. I have a general gist of what the people think. And this is a weird one to score because where's the line between general player and experienced player? And now that there are probably experienced players within the people who are reviewing this game, so you kind of get this like mixed bag of opinions is what I'm guessing. I pulled up a bunch of the usual suspects, air quotes, the ones that I think that people will generally gravitate to if you're just like a normal nobody who doesn't really care. I just want to see what the good games are. I have IGN's review up, which seems to be probably
After the massive success of both Monster Hunter
the one that most people will go to if you're not familiar with anything.
Wilds is light on any real challenge, even for what I'd expect at launch, never asking me to think hard about my equipment.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I've been getting a lot. It's that I've been hearing a lot of people talk about difficulty and how it doesn't offer much of a challenge, but it's weird because you can't take back knowing how to play Monster Hunter, which is like once you play one, you kind of know how they all work. I know last night I literally booted up World just out of excitement to see what the game is like, and I found it really easy to stomp through the beginning hunts, like much easier than I remember it being before. Like you can't take that muscle memory, you can't take that knowledge away, you can't take understanding how animations work. Also, in between this time, I worked for 2 years on Dauntless, rest in peace. So like just the flow of monster hunting games is in me now in a way that like I was surprised at how quick enemies died in World for me, because I remember starting out that game, like it was still a struggle bus. It was still like, it was like getting a new From Software game for me. Like where each time a new From game comes out, the first day you play it, you're just so bad at it because there's a new flow, there's new timings, there's new things you got to learn. But you tend to end up picking it up pretty quick because you've been here before, you've seen the story before. So you kind of get into a mode where it's very easy for you to just wrap your brain around what's going on.
Combat still mean the act of carving them up has rarely felt better.
Yeah, there's like a part in, I really enjoyed the beta. I really enjoyed the whole focus mode thing that they put in, just to be able to like do little stabby stabs and then like sidestep or like reposition or point where your weapon's at. I think that's like one of the most frustrating things about Monster Hunter previously, is that you really had to aim your attack right at the moment with no adjustment. So the idea that they're trying to get this focus mode here and try to get you to be able to point yourself a little bit more and focus a little bit more, I think is good. There comes a time where I'm like, how far do you go into quality of life improvements that makes the game not what it is anymore? You know what I mean? So like if you go too far in casualization, at some point, it just looks like a regular action game. It's that if taking out the vector of aiming your weapon like changes the gameplay in a way, right? It removes the pre-planning of pointing your weapon before you press the button, where if you can kind of adjust and aim while you're pressing the button, it's like, in this case, you're kind of exchanging the vectors of gameplay. But a lot of like modern games like to remove stuff, which takes away a layer of thinking that you had to do. And I don't think they'll ever get there. I think the main key point that the devs saw as they designed this was that you get to point the weapon at the character still, or the monster, I mean. And then and so now when you add complexity to that, it's like you give more freedom of control, and you give people who would feel that might maybe find that unwieldy to be something that they can easily do now. I don't really want to watch this whole review. I do want to kind of get a sense of what the gist of this review was. Because weirdly, I don't want that many spoilers, and I feel like watching through these videos, I've gotten monster spoilers, so it's like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. Yeah, a lot about easier tuning, and apparently historically, I've saw it come up within the community of Monster Hunter that like this is a thing that happens every game. It's that veterans of previous games will come back and play it and be like, yeah, of course it's easy. It's not meant to be hard. And I agree with that. I think that design is smart. I think something World of Warcraft struggles with is that all the end game stuff is scaled to be harder for people. And you kind of get into this weird space where because it's harder, new people can't get their foot in the door. New people are behind. New people get flamed. So I kind of appreciate the Japanese game approach that they always have to think about new players coming to their game, because that's what keeps them alive. If you only scale the game for people that made it to the end, and the end is smaller of a percentage than the total player base that's there, you get stuck in this weird trap loop where you have to appeal only to the end to make it harder for them so that they stay engaged, while never pulling in new people to the game. So this is something, and I'm not a very experienced Monster Hunter player, and I've never beaten any one of them. This one might be the first one that I'm trying to beat, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe it's that because they have the data to see that most people who try their game don't beat it, they make something a little bit more appealing, a little bit faster, a little bit easier for you to get in. Maybe a little even shorter of a campaign, because apparently this one's shorter, and kind of get players ramped up towards the end game quicker so that you can do the harder stuff that everyone kind of really loves, which I have no idea what that is because I've never done those. All that said, Wilds deserves credit for being one of the most customizable games I've played, not just in Monster Hunter series, but anywhere. You can swap between 2 weapons on the fly. I like that a lot in the beta. I'm a sucker for the bow. Like any game with you give me a bow, I'm going to use it. But I think I do appreciate all the melee weapons as well. Picking a weapon in this game is really hard, by the way. I looked up a bunch of guides yesterday just to get an idea of different movesets in order to be able to pick one weapon properly. I think I'm settling on sword and shield right now, but I mean, the variety is there. There's no lockout. You're not forced to pick one. So I can find myself jumping around. I think the first weapon I ever played was Great Sword. And that was all the way back at the 3DS, just because it was the one that people recommended at the time, but I found it a little bit unwieldy. But that's already playing on such a little tiny device doing that. So that's cool. There seems to be, they're very good at tuning controls to things that you can quick access. Like while you can on one side use your items the long way, they also have the hold and let go feature that I really like that they got from World. I'm just hoping that they have that there. I don't even know. A bunch of quality of life stuff is talked about here. Smooth off traditionally rough edges of the series in smart ways, as well as reducing friction as much as possible. Makes it more approachable. So this one might be a case where like we see the most people playing this one in the way that Elden Ring did that. If you rate them all together, like if you are a hardcore fan of Souls games, I don't know if you would put Elden Ring at the top, right? But it's one of those like, because it's so many people's first Elden Ring game, that becomes the thing that's at the top because you always like the first one. Like I really like Dark Souls 1 because that was the first one I played. I had to go through the loop of struggle in order to get there to figure out what that game was. And that was the one that was new at the time, back in like what, 2011? 8 out of 10, sure. Reviewed on the PS5 Pro. Oh, so there were a lot of mentions of performance, and I did see the Digital Foundry where they talk about performance being iffy. As long as it's playable, I don't really mind. It would be ideal if I could make it like a locked 40, a locked 30, or a locked 60. One of the 3 choices is okay with me, but I think overall it's a little bit wonky. I think they tried to stretch the engine too thin, and that's okay as long as it's as playable as possible. And as long as it remains responsive. This is one of those weird issues for me where I'm like, as long as I can consistently make it do something and the game is fun, I can forgive it personally. And I had a choice between PC or PS5. And I chose PS5 just because I tried the benchmark on my computer and I didn't like how it was running. I didn't like how it was looking on the screen. So I figured I might as well just go play on the couch with my big OLED TV. Easy peasy, peasy peasy. Well, what do other reviews say? Let's see here. This is a 4 out of 5 from Eurogamer. Basically an 8 out of 10. Literally an 8 out of 10. Story campaign is only about 20 hours long, but thanks to sky high production values, infectiously silly detours, and a genuinely endearing cast, that it's good. Okay, so I do like the high production value thing. That's something that I missed when I played Rise, was that like you can clearly tell that the game was scaled down. And I do like Monster Hunter when it has high production values and good cutscenes, and it kind of has that flow of carrying the story forward with a good amount of showmanship. I love showmanship in a game. Yeah, again, low difficulty. I guess we'll find out about it. That might be a good thing because it won't frustrate people, but maybe there's a way for you to make it easier for yourself. There's so many ways to skin this, right? Like at the end of the day, there are people who still find using 2 sticks really difficult. If we're able to get those people into the game, like that's kind of a win, and get them ramped up on the difficulty of there and then have the end game be super hard. That would be cool. PC Gamer says 85 out of 100. Just gonna skim through this. Monster Hunter's sudden cinematic turn isn't a narrative masterpiece, but impressive action choreography and story cutscenes leave no leverage for spectacle. I like that. Your protagonist is fully voiced. Oh, I'm getting so sick of silent protagonists. I just don't think it's interesting. I think it's so much better when you have a voiced protagonist, when you have a voice character who's speaking in the world for you. I find that more interesting. I don't like when characters are kind of like, "Oh, link to you, the player, so you can insert yourself." I don't want to insert myself. I actually appreciate it when a game takes time to establish a character and be like, "All right, you're gonna be in the shoes of this character and you're gonna like it. Who's VG247? Don't really know. Oh, this guy gave it a 5 out of 5. I'm just looking at these screenshots and just it looks really pretty at a glance. I don't know. I'm not Digital Foundry, right? I'm not gonna go zoom in and look at it. I just mean like in an art style sense, if I zoom out and look at it, I like how it looks. Something else worth looking at is the top seller list. Yep. It changed 4 since how many of this? It goes by week? I don't think it goes by week. I think this is pretty much like live updated on a weirdly consistent basis. I would like to know what the cadence of this update actually is. This is not surprising. It's right up there. It's gonna be up there. People are excited. People are waiting. Do we have an estimate of how many people are buying it? I don't think so. It's going to be interesting to see the player count of this. I assume it's going to be pretty massive. I went into this video already knowing that I was going to play it, so I don't even know what I'm doing here. Call this a whatever throwaway. Call this an I'm excited about Monster Hunter. But if you wanted like a review recap, this is it. I think it's going to do great. I don't know what to think about the scores, but honestly, at this point, who really cares anymore? 90 is pretty high for this game, and you can nitpick about people saying anything about the difficulty, but I don't think it's going to matter at the end of the day. And it seems like from the sales numbers, like nobody really cares at all, and it's just gonna sell like hotcakes, and people are gonna play a lot of it. So I'm excited that it unlocks tonight, and I can't wait to play it. If you enjoyed this at all, please subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps. I'm a small creator, so I would like to get to 1,000 as soon as possible. That's all I had today. Peace.